Thank Hi Amanda, thank you for coming on Pally Talks.
Hi, thank you so much for inviting me, Anna. This is great.
Tuning in from
I'm in Kentucky, United States.
and so I know I've got a list of questions listed, but can you tell us your sort of story from Kentucky to New York to England and how from sort of square one to where you are now? Yeah, in as much or little detail as you'd like to.
So I was born and raised in Kentucky. Most of your international listeners, people probably have no idea where that is, which is fine and fair because most people in the US don't either. And I was desperate to get out. Like my entire life, it was the number one goal is leave the state, never return. And so I went to university here, then went to New York, got so lucky getting a job as a personal assistant, totally lucked out. It was like I had like $30 in my bank account. One of those crazy stories that it's just when you're young, you kind of don't realize how insane the steps that you're taking or like what you're doing actually is. And then um, it's not until you get older that you're kind of like, oh my God, how did that happen? How did I make it work?
Yeah.
So I did that for a few years, and then the husband, he started his own hedge fund. And when he started his hedge fund, I moved over to work as an executive assistant there. So I just recently left there, D1 Capital. It was great. I learned, I mean, my entire like sort of EA experience was there, and it provided me so many opportunities to learn and grow and do things that, I mean, as a girl from Kentucky, I never ever thought I would do. And in the last few years, I've kind of been splitting time. One had a generous remote work policy during the pandemic, so I started splitting time between New York and London because my big goal in life is to move to London. And so the past, yeah, like 4 years or so, I've been doing that half life there, half life in New York. And so, yeah, now I'm kind of figuring out my next steps, intending to move to London in the new year full time.
Yay!
Yeah. So it's kind of like crazy, like time, but it's great.
It is incredible, and I think you're right. When you're young, you just sort of do things, and you just go day by day by day. And now looking back, like when you told me the story, I was like, oh my god, I love that. It's so
No.
ballsy.
Yeah, like their driver picked me up at LaGuardia and drove me out to the Hamptons. And also like, I mean, even still, I'm like, that's kind of just like a crazy like thing. But as a girl from Kentucky, it's like the Hamptons. Like I knew about that from like Gossip Girl, and
Yeah,
like it was just a place I never thought that I would ever like actually step foot in.
yeah.
So yeah, it was just one of those crazy times.
Oh, I love it, and I'm so pleased everything's like sort of falling into place, and hopefully London is the next step. But so when you were in your role, what was if you could explain your role in one sentence, what would it be?
I mean, in a few words, it's like putting out fires. It was just like being so my role kind of as a lot of roles in any type of position do, it changed and evolved a lot over time. So D1 is unique in that we invested in both the public and the private markets. So I eventually moved full time with the private investment teams, like VC type, private equity type, later stage investing. And it was incredibly fast paced. And so it was just like proactively kind of keeping an eye on what's happening like in the world, but also like in this investing space, rejuggling commitments as like sees fit, especially with the advent of AI, like everything kind of has been flipped on its head a bit. So yeah, like staying aware, being proactive, putting out fires, and making it hopefully look seamless ish.
I think assistants have an amazing way of making it look seamless, even if internally they're going, "Oh my gosh!" I do think
No,
it's part. It is incredible. Everyone's so calm.
yeah, I think that if for like in some way, shape, or form, assistants were able to take over the world, it would be like so smooth. everything would be like, yeah, it'd be, I don't want to say a great world, but things would function probably quite seamlessly and like efficiently.
Yeah, 100%. Hopefully one day.
Yeah, I
And
know,
what?
I know. But just get Trump out and put an EA in and everything will be smooth again.
Yeah. And what's the most unexpected thing your job involved?
Great question. So when I was a personal assistant, it was a lot of like last minute, like the not a lot, but there were a number of times where it was like the weather is going to be not great this weekend. Let's, go to Puerto Rico or whatever. And so it was like a last minute like rejiggling of things to make that happen. Like in a more corporate America, I don't know if there was anything like really crazy, but I guess just like the fast pace and then like the awareness of kind of the capital that we're dealing with and how that like for our investors, how that matters, why it matters. I guess one thing that we invest a bit in India, and so pulled off this. I still say it's a crazy trip. It was three of my principals went, and they had like 12 meetings a day, each of them booking out the space, making it run smoothly, like 5 minute break between each. I was actually in London at the time because I was also like supporting people still based in New York. So I was like trying to make myself available for like all people. One of those types of like this is fine for a week, but then after that, like I would go crazy if
Yeah.
this is something that I had to maintain.
Mm.
But I mean, I guess like or maybe it's like there are crazy things that I was dealing with that just seemed normal because it was just a regular, like you kind of get used to what you're, I guess, dealing with. Some of my friends, I suppose they like I would be like, oh yeah, this is what I'm working on. They're like, that what?
Yeah.
Yeah, you could just kind of like I guess get used to it in a weird way.
Yeah. I think you do. It gets normalized. And what is one thing that people misunderstand about assistance?
I think it's similar to what is the adage of like those who can't do teach, and so it's like the like assistants like like they're smart enough to do what they're doing, but they're not, like these genius like change makers or whatever. And it's just like so categorically wrong. I mean, I'm not like the smartest person in the room, nor frankly do I ever really want to be the smartest person in the room. I kind of always want to learn and grow and be challenged by those around me. But almost any assistant I've ever interacted with, I'm like, your brain. Like you are so beyond capable. Like, yeah, yeah. So I think that like we're kind of given the short end of this every now and again. Yeah. Hopefully not. Hopefully like there are plenty of people that realize, how like with executive partnership and all that and putting the trust in and over time it's kind of, we are talented in a certain space. Like the principals and the people that I work with, I would never frankly want to do their job. Like I don't know if I'd be particularly talented in it, but I also just like have absolutely no interest in that. Like, frankly. And I think the world is a better place because I don't have any interest in that. But at the same time, I don't know if they would be particularly skilled in a lot of the spaces that I operate, not because they don't have like the brains for it, but just because it's not how like they're conditioned to look at an experience or, like we're change makers. Figure it out.
Yeah, exactly. And I think what you said about every time you meet an assistant, it sort of blows your mind because I have exactly the same when we get lots of assistants together. They're so across everything that they just don't drop balls, and it's not like they're niche and they have one thing that they're really good at. They're good at everything. So whether it comes to
Yeah.
like HR, the invoices, the like even like the office culture, they can almost manage that in itself as well as all the other elements. It's yeah, they can change like the energy in the office, how people feel each day. Yeah, they just do everything, and I just love how every time you meet assistants, they're so upbeat and they want to do better and they want to learn and they want to improve everyone
They wouldn't
else's
like
day in
help.
the office. Yeah,
Like even being on the Pally Talk like WhatsApp group, there like, I mean, I've been in this role for like around 10 years or so. So I'm not like new to the block, but also I've kind of, been in very specific spaces. And questions will come through or answers will be supplied or whatever. And I'm just like, what are these words even? Like, I absolutely no idea. Like, bow down to you guys. Yeah. And it's just like, it's like you'll either find like I found in that group, not that I've really asked a lot, but I'm just like a lurker. And like you will like always and like you'll either be supplied an answer or like someone will be like, I know who to ask to get this answer. I'll be back. I'm like, people, this is incredible. Like, oh my God, it's great.
It is, yeah, I'd say it is great. And I think having, like, that's why WhatsApp as well is just so good for things like this, because it's so instant. Everyone's online. When you go into a WhatsApp group and it tells you how many people are online at that very time, it's incredible how many
Does
people
it?
are online all the time. Yeah.
I have
I just
my
love
like
that.
online offline thing turned off, so I don't know if I'm able to see that, but that's amazing.
You wouldn't show, no. But it is amazing. But it just shows how every assistant wants to support every other assistant. But the next question, which you've sort of touched on about how the abnormal becomes normal, but was there something that was sort of extraordinary and that stands out that you've been asked to do?
Mm, I mean, yeah, it's kind of like I guess like putting on dinners or a last minute request of um, I got something like more recently top of mind. So politically, America and Venezuela, we don't get on. They don't have like an embassy in America. Traveling there as an American, essentially impossible. Like, there's no place for us to go to even like attempt to get a visa. But one of the guys I've supported, he had asked, he's like, you know, there's a company I would like to meet with there. What are the chances that I could get a visa? First off, I'm like, first off, I have to just state in writing, I don't encourage this. If you get like trapped in Vietnam or if you get trapped in Venezuela, you're trapped in Venezuela. Like you get no help from the government. Like you got to figure that out yourself. I'm like, and I don't want to be the one figuring that out. Let's be real. But I was like, if you wanna, if this is like it gotta happen, here's how we do it. Like he had a trip to India planned already, so I'm like, I can make you an appointment at the Venezuelan embassy in India. You get the visa or whatever there. You would have to not, you can't fly direct through it from America, but like da 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 da. And it was, yeah, like in 10 minutes, it was like, here's the plan, here's the course of action. I don't condone this. I don't think this is a great idea, but if it needs to happen, this is how we would make it happen. And I don't know if I ever thought that there'd be a moment in my life where I was like, obviously he wouldn't be snuck into the country, but like subverting all of these like roadblocks by the US government of like, don't do this to make it happen. He ended up not going, thank God, which is also his mom was my eye doctor. And so I had an appointment around the time we were planning this. And I'm like, she always asks, like, how's he doing? I'm like, it would be really hard for me not to just be like, yeah, he's doing great. Other than the fact that he's like trying to go to Venezuela, like, can you imagine if I had to go, hi, so your son's stuck, like he's trapped. Yeah, so that's probably was one of the crazier, for me in like a more like, corporate environment type of request. Thankfully, I know I have like friends that are more private personal assistants, and there can be some crazy things that come through. Ours had to be kind of to some degree above board because it was like a corporate environment. Um, yeah, yeah, that's probably the one that comes top to mind.
God, I bet when you got that call or message saying I'm actually not going to go, you were like, oh my gosh.
Like, thank God, come to your senses.
Mm,
And that's like a lot
yeah.
of, at least for me in a corporate environment, but it's like these. people are they really like think outside the box, which they kind of have to some degree to like differentiate
Yeah.
themselves when making investments, especially like in the private space. Their mind is running a million miles a minute. And so like sometimes these types of things just come to them and they're used
Mm,
to taking risks or to like, doing like the hard things. And so you have to differentiate between like, yeah, there are like risks that like you take every day in like your job or whatever, right? Like you like live in a risk-taking environment. And then there are like risks that the reward doesn't really like outweigh the actual risk that you're taking. Like there's
yeah.
obviously a reason that the US government is like, don't do this. Sometimes it's just like talking sense, which I hate using that phrase because I'm like, we're all adults, like people are able to make their own decisions, but just I guess adding color to the reality of like, yeah, some of these things are crazy, guys. Like,
I do actually do. I think that is quite an extraordinary story, but I sort of wish the story I wish he'd gone and the story
I
extended and then
know.
there was like a getting him out story, but no, I'm pleased for you that he didn't go. And so what's one task?
Part of me also obviously wishes that as well, but it's nice sometimes people come to their senses.
Yeah, 100%. What's one task that you secretly love doing as an assistant?
So this is something that I take on myself. I've never been asked to do this, but I just get so much joy out of it. And it is most certainly like extra work. Obviously, I'm not asked to do this, that I'm just like spending at this point, my time on. But anytime that I have anyone traveling to like a new location, so when the group of three guys went to India, I love random facts, but I love like finding random things about the place that they're traveling to. And when I'm sending over their itinerary, so they'll like wake up to this email of like, this is your schedule for the day. These are like, here's like the super important stuff. Da, 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 da. Da. Also, here's just like some interesting facts about where you are, like in case you want to work it into conversation or just like to better understand the culture, or just in case, like these guys aren't most of the time on business trips, like they're there and they're out, like they're not doing much of anything. So I'm like, make it a bit more of a like you're experiencing the space. So yeah, just like finding like these random facts. I oftentimes get complimented on just like, making something that's quite mundane of just here's your schedule, like don't forget these XYZ things, keep in mind this, whatever, whatever. But then weaving in like something to like, grab their attention a bit. So yeah, I love it. I like with my friends when they're traveling, I do the same. Yeah, it's just fun, I guess fun also for me like to learn a bit more about like these places that they're
Yeah.
going, you know?
Yeah,
Yeah.
because otherwise itineraries are pretty boring. They're sort of like
Oh
you
my,
do this,
like
you
so
do this,
yeah,
you do this.
yeah, it's kind of, I guess, I started doing it because that mundane stuff, like even though it's required, like it's helpful and needed to some degree, just like it's on your calendar. Like everything that I'm typing up here is on your calendar and like four other places. So yeah, it was kind of a way to like make this really mundane thing that I kind of really don't enjoy doing, frankly, more enjoyable for me, that also had added benefit of like they enjoyed it as well. Yeah. So I
Yeah,
highly
because
recommend.
hopefully they'll read it and yeah.
Yeah. Well, and
And
then it's
what?
also it was one of those things I'm like, I got a response. So I knew that they like read the other stuff as well.
Yeah.
So it was like a helpful for me of like, okay, I've crossed all my T's, dotted all my I's, like there's been no stone left unturned. They have all the information.
I'm pleased that they responded. That's so good because then you're like, yes, they read it.
Yeah. Yeah, they saw
And
it.
what
Great.
advice? What? Yeah, exact job done. What advice would you give to a brand new assistant starting tomorrow?
Boy. I would. I mean, it's one of those things where like this is what I tell anytime I interview anyone, anytime like literally I'm talking to anyone thinking about doing this entering this world. I'm like, none of this stuff in general, like there's people that are like super specialized in things, and that's a different ball game. But in general, when you're entering the space, like nothing that we're doing is true like rocket science. Like there's not brain surgery. You've just got to be like aware, you've got to be on top of things. You have to be like willing to do it, you know? Like anyone to some degree is capable of doing this, but it's wanting to like be in a very competitive American, I guess, way of thinking, like wanting to be the best at it, but also realizing that like you don't really want to be the best at it. You always like if you're the if you like say if you get to a point where you're like, oh, I'm the best at this, for me personally, I'm like, that's kind of when I think that I would just start like kind of my downward spiral of like, okay,
Mm.
well, like I've achieved what there is to achieve. Like, I guess call me, send me home. Like I've done it. So
Send me home.
it's like being humble while also like just putting in the work to do things well, also like staying aware. There are a million things that assistants like could add to their plate that a lot of times either your principals or the executives don't really know is something that like they could pass on to you. But like when you're in their world and like you really pay attention, like you can impress them just with your knowledge of like, oh, like I know that you're working on a deal in the AI space. Like put on Google alerts so that anything AI related, like news of, I don't know, like AI is in every space at the moment. So it's like, I don't know, you're in pharmaceutical AI or something like that. So like you put on a
Mm.
hyper
Yeah.
specialized like Google alerts so that you can kind of work to these things into conversation. Um, I think it's just like being humble, putting in the work, realizing you don't know what you don't know, like asking questions, befriending. Hopefully you'll have a great all the EAs I've ever worked with or really like interacted with, they have been amazing. So hopefully you'll have like a good group or another like partner EA or something that can help guide you a bit, be your Sherpa. Yeah, but just like stay hungry, I guess.
Yeah. Well, thank you. Thank you so much for coming to talk to us all the way from Kentucky. What time
I
is it
know.
with you?
It's currently 6:45 a.m. But
Oh
it's
God,
okay.
I
It's
had no idea you were like in the middle of.
it's okay. I've been up since like 4 a.m. I don't get jet lag because I'm an insomniac, but I enjoy an early morning. So when I flew back, I landed on Tuesday. So yesterday was my first like full day back in Kentucky. So I'm still a bit on like London time. I'm like, I
Yeah.
like these early mornings. So I'm trying to stay on the earlier side. So this has been great.
Yeah. Oh, good. Well, yeah. Thank you so much, and I hopefully I'll see you again in London soon.
Yeah, I'll be around. I'll definitely. I'm keeping tabs on what you guys have going on. So if something's going on while I'm there, you'll be seeing me.
Yes.